Pete. That's everyone runs their business their own way. Yeah, that's not a good impersonation. That is an insult. I don't fart, mate. Mark, come say bye. Bye, Mark. Keep it simple. Wait up.
What is going on, guys? I am SimpleSimon. I'm your comic book noob, and welcome to the first episode of the Noob Absolute podcast. I'm running out of breath. We've been talking about it for ages, but the day has finally come, and you may notice for the first time on my lives. Normally on my lives, if you ever watched them, really crappy quality. It's because I'm a tight ass. I don't pay for StreamYard. I even subscribe to StreamYard, so we get crystal clear 1080p resolution because this show deserves it. All right. So before I bring on my guest, because I know he's dying to talk, we haven't actually prepared as well. Like, he showed up late. So I didn't get to chat to him backstage. But before I bring him on, I've got a couple of people in the chat here. Whack, Daddy, what's going on, mate? Ash, what's happening? You ready for this? So basically the reason we're doing this is because if you've seen the Noob or the Noob Rebirth, Noob Universe, all those shows, you'll know it's a short format show, and Mark is not the type of guy. He's not made for short format. He's made for the bigger picture. So we're going to go for maybe 60 minutes to 90 minutes, knowing Mark will probably be leaning more towards the 90-minute mark. And we got a couple of topics to discuss. Tonight's topic is I want to start or open a comic shop. We've kind of talked about it in previous episodes of the Noob, but again, we're going to get into more detail. And I'm just going to bring the guy out. Hang on, I got an intro before we bring out the man who's going to be carrying the podcast. He's got an entire podcast to carry on his shoulders. Make sure you drop a hashtag hi Mark in the chat. Let's do this.
Say hi, Mark. 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 Oh, man, what an intro. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I saw you talking shit about me first.
What are you talking about?
Tell me you're talking shit about me, man.
I was sitting there waiting forever, and then
no one can say that you don't talk behind my back. You're far out, man.
It was 1 minute before we had to go live, and I'm like waiting for Mark. He was like, I'm in, but he hadn't entered the studio.
Yeah, because you didn't tell me to, you idiot.
We're supposed to chat.
Have you entered the studio? You asked me, have you entered the studio? I said, not yet. You didn't say, well, go ahead and enter.
Well, okay. Well, now you know. Next time,
now I know.
You'll be on time.
Yes.
There you go. You got people know how to play this game. Hi, Mark. Hi, Mark. Well, the Aussies. It's a little bit late in the US. So I don't know if we're going to get too many US people in. What's going on? Get lost. All right. Did you notice the background too? This is the first time I've got all these new features because I paid for StreamYard. I got like the background. See? I'm making you feel at home there.
Oh, he's earning the big bucks now.
No, I don't know if I'm going to be able to afford this more than 1 month. It was expensive, man. $75 for 1 month.
Oh,
that's crazy.
But so you got to let it pay for yourself.
Yeah, I did use my YouTube money to pay for it, but I'm running low on that. I don't have a lot of it because I don't get a lot of it. What's going on, Grey Man? Oh, it's right about the time the Grey Man will actually be awake, so that's good.
Hello, Grey Man.
So we've got kind of two topics prepared, not prepared as we know what we're going to say, but basically you might have seen on the thumbnail, the topic is I want to open a comic shop. So basically I'm going to pitch to Mark my idea for a store that I would like to open, and I'm going to get Mark to mentor me as he does in life. And I guess answer any questions. I'm not going to pay too much attention to the chat, but if you guys do have any questions, obviously we will bring those up. So hang on, I'm trying to make this look professional here. The topic is, I want to start a comic shop. So Mark, if I came to you with this idea, I want to start a shop, what would be the first question you would ask me?
What kind of what? Well, everything that first thing I would tell you, I would give you all the bad. I'll give you all the bad things around it.
Try to talk me out of it.
You're sure, just to make sure that you're sure that you want to do it. And when I say the bad, I would say, you got to be prepared to pay rent, of course, and be prepared to work weekends, that sort of thing. Like, you got to be prepared. Running your own retail business is 24/7, because you don't only sell stuff in your bricks and mortar, you sell stuff online, and so you got to make yourself available for that time. That's one thing, and that would be one of the bad. The other bad is you have to outlay a lot of money. I think Diamond had like for a 3-month probation. I think 3 months or 6 months. I can't remember, to be honest. I'm pretty sure it was 6-month probation, and where I had to pay everything up front, and I'm talking everything up front.
Okay, yeah.
So my monthly order, which at the time was about $4,000.
Yeah,
Australian. That I had to pay that up front every month, and that's including, and that's not including, but plus, and then obviously shipping as well. But everything was up front. Whereas now that I'm not in probation, or when I came off probation, I don't pay everything up front. I just pay everything at invoice based.
So basically, you can be owing them money, and then let's say you haven't paid for 2 months, they might say, "Hey, man, we're not sending you any more books until
Correct.
you pay." Oh, yeah, that's like how my workplace works.
Yeah, to be clear, like, I pay every week anyway. I pay my invoices every week.
Okay, that's like my business. So where I work, we're a distributor. So basically, we deal to all the auto barns and all the big places, all the big car places, and a lot of them, if they haven't paid for a couple of months, we put their account on hold and be like, "We're not giving you any more stuff until you pay." All right.
Correct.
So what would be the first 3 things that I should have prepared when starting something like this?
Finance.
Okay, so I need to have my finances sorted. All right.
Oh yeah.
Is that the most important?
You're gonna have to borrow money. You're gonna have to borrow money. I'm telling you this is the bad part. The part that no one wants to talk about. The finances. That's the part that nobody wants to talk about ever. So yeah, you got to make sure you get your finances in order, because you're gonna need finance. Whether you go to the traditional bank, or you go to a financial institution, or a family friend, or bank of mum and dad, whatever it may be, you got to have your finances in order, and you got to have a business plan. Business plan is key. Because I learnt early on. From my own experience, business plan is key, because you got to be able to be paying somehow for your comics. And so your business plan changes from time to time, environment, GFC, COVID. So it changes.
So what was your, if I needed assistance, what do you like, can you give us an example of a business plan? Like maybe what your first one was?
So my business plan was to start off making a little bit of profit, but being ultra competitive with my competitors.
And your prices in the beginning were
very low,
much cheaper than everyone else. Considering how much less you were getting than everyone else, you were considerably cheaper.
Correct. So that was my business plan. And then when I'm out there and more in tune with the comic book community, established. Thank you, Simon. Established. Then I'll put up my prices. So I put up my prices. I tended to put up my prices with the dollar, and most of the time, put up my prices with the dollar. But now, and then later on that change, I started putting up my prices like every year, just be in line with everything else that goes up. I know, again, this is something that, no one likes to talk about. But what I found early on is that if you're doing something you love, you want to keep doing that. So you got to make it worth your while. You got to make it worth, the getting up in the morning, going, unpacking your comics, putting them out. You got to make it worth your while, because if it's not worth your while, it's not worth doing.
I mean, that'd be super fun though. Like when you first started, tell me that wasn't, it's kind of like, people like, where we used to work, for example, like when you were young and you like music and stuff like that, it's cool to work in a record store, right? If you like movies, it's cool to work in a VHS, Blockbuster like I did, right? If you were into comic books, you would love to own a comic shop, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
It'd be awesome.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to work in a comic shop for a long time, but I never did. But yeah, I just, to be honest, like I've spoken this about before. I was in a crossroads in my life, and I just I went back to basics, and I wanted to do something that I loved. So that's what I did. But so once you got your, to move forward, I mean, once you got your finances in line, and then you got to look at location, where you're gonna set up, where you're gonna, and it has to be forever, and I've proved that. It doesn't have to be in the same spot forever. But I didn't want to step on anyone's feet either, of all my competitors. So I asked, I was friends with another comic book store owner, and we sort of discussed it, and he helped me sort of throwing places in line, and I came up. We Fitzroy was the ideal spot, so I went ahead with looking for something in Fitzroy, in that area, because there wasn't really much in that area, compared to the CBD or outer suburbs on the other side of the CBD.
Yeah, because your original shop, for people who never saw it, like, I guess one of the things, for example, when my dad first opened his restaurant back in the day, something that was really important to him was there has to be parking, right?
Yes.
You don't want to have a restaurant that's on the middle of a busy main road where there's no parking. See, where you had your shop in Brunswick Street, there was parking, but sometimes it could be a pain in the ass. But the thing is, it was still a good area because it was always busy. Like Brunswick Street is like a busy street. I didn't
really think of that. Like, it didn't really enter my mind, to be honest. Like, which it should have. That's another lesson that I learned going into my second place, where I learned that, because I found that Fitzroy, even though Fitzroy is central and it's got public transport and it's close to restaurants, and it's a happening place. What's up? And I don't know. I just found that. I used to have a lot of people come in and say to me, I can't stay long. I'm in a 2-hour parking, and I want to get something to eat. So, I found that was hard in that sense to start a relationship with a person who walks in the door and they're in a hurry. You want to, if people know, I tend to want to take time with people, get to know them. It's part of the customer service. So
yeah, like if you want to just go in and out and pick up your books, mate, it ain't happen at big city comics.
No, absolutely not. I don't sit behind my desk and grunt at you.
So just back to the sort of beginning, I guess the important thing. So obviously the finances you mentioned, the business plan. How important was having a name? That's not really that important, is it?
It took me ages.
You were like a working title, right? For you, you originally were going to open as a franchise almost, weren't you?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I was looking at that for a while. Was going to thinking of doing that, and then I said to myself, you know what? I think I'd rather do my own thing than be restricted to someone else's sort of rules and conditions. And coming up with the name was, it took me ages, to be honest. Like, it took me a while, throwing it out there to other people, and, Big City Comics came to me. It's an actual, Big City Comics is a distributor in America, and they, not a distributor, sorry, they're a publisher. In America, they publish the comics. So I took it upon myself and to use the name as a retail shop. My logo looks completely different. I came up with my own logo. I'm a graphic designer, so I came up with that logo, which I love. I don't think I'll ever change it. But I based it off. If people don't know, I based the logo on a corner box that old school comic books would have in the 80s and 70s and stuff. So so that's what my logo is supposed to look like, a corner box.
Well,
so,
you had two versions, because I don't know if you noticed the logo at the bottom. It's covered up by
that's the one that you made.
I didn't make that.
Yeah, you made it like that, didn't you?
No, you sent me that. I've been waiting for Mark to send me a high-resolution image of his logo for as long as I've known him. It's been we've been filming together for 5 years, and I still haven't got your high-res logo, mate. I'm still waiting.
Oh, you're still waiting? Well, you're lucky you got me here on camera, mate. Look, actually, I have to go now.
Yeah, calm down. All right. So we got the money. So I got the money sorted. I got my plan. Would the next thing be just like fine? Because for someone who's maybe never, you had a helping hand, right?
Yeah.
You had someone in the industry, but like for someone who just didn't have a clue, I want to do this. Correct. Inventory. Where do you how do you even start? Right?
Had no clue. So my first inventory was so basically I had no shop, but before I had the had the shop, I got finance, and I got a colleague of mine a friend of mine who owns a comic book store. He sort of gave me contacts within Diamond, like who to email and how to start that process of starting an account. And he gave me also the number of the Geodis, which is my freight forwarder. So he gave me those contacts and other contacts, like who I would start accounts with for backing boards and bags and all that. So he gave me a lot of numbers and contacts, sales rep and stuff. So that was good. That was all good. And then once I got my account with Diamond, because Diamond at that time was the only distributor around, not like it is now. So I started ordering, and the first thing I started ordering was trades, to fill up shelves. So and I remember them starting to arrive, and I had them at my house, and I remember like opening them up, bagging them, pricing them. Yeah, and I had them all stacked up in my house, like boxes and boxes of them. It was crazy, yeah.
Did you, like, when you first opened, like day one, sorry, to get lost in comics as well, I'm actually trying to find an old photo of the shop, but I have to scroll back 6 years worth of photos on Facebook to get them for you.
It's the 2017, I think it was. My opening day was Free Comic Book Day.
Did your new release wall, I mean, did you order massive to fill up a new release? Because your old new release was huge, massive. I loved the way your store was set up. You walk into the shop, and the new release wall shelf was back to back and in the middle of the shop. So you walk in, and on one side it was all Marvel, and the other side was all DC. It was a beautiful new release shelf.
Yeah, one side was DC and Image, and the other side was Marvel.
And then you had like Image off in the corner, like indie stuff off in the corner.
The corner, yeah.
New release shelf, I loved the way it was just displayed in the middle of the store. It was really cool.
Yeah, well, that was my design. So when we got into the store, when I got the rent, I started, sort of like how I'm going to design it, because it was a blank slate. It was a totally new shop, totally blank slate, and I sort of where I wanted stuff and I had to build a wall with doors, with my flip doors that you see sometimes in the background of my shop in videos where it's got the blue doors with the two logos coming together, the Captain America and Superman. They were my sort of like my swinging doors. I had swinging doors. But the photos would be like from you would have to find them from Free Comic.
I got them for a video. I just don't know what I saved them under. So to find those photos of your old shop for my video that we did, it took age. I had to scroll. So, and at one point, Facebook, if you close it and stuff, it reset I had to do it
Yeah,
twice. It
that's
was.
right. You should have asked. You should have asked. I would have put them on there.
But me, I was probably like I was probably editing it to get it out the next day and things like that. So I probably didn't have time to wait for you. But it's all good. I'm just scrolling and scrolling until I get there. What's going on?
Like going then the building. I mean, like I had a time date. Like I remember my sister said to me, what date are you going to open? I go, she gave me the idea to do free comic book day, so that's what I went with.
Great idea.
And it gave me a timeline. It gave me a deadline. And me and my brother-in-law helped me build it. Like build the inside, the guts. The build the wall, build the back of it. My processing table, we built that. We didn't buy that.
You know what's funny, actually, Mark? Like, I'm really into, obviously, video and photos and things. I'm very sentimental with that stuff. Mark isn't, because, you know what? You go back onto his Facebook page, you've got actually very few photos. You probably do have them personal, right? But you have very few photos of the shop. It was really hard to get, like, a good look at that shop. And same with the new store. You never really post photos of your shop. You kind of just post the corner where you're promoting a book or something.
Yeah.
I'd do all the posting for you.
Yeah. I don't know. I just I'm proud of my shop and everything else. I just don't sometimes I don't have time to sit there and take photos of my shop and posting stuff. I really don't. Sometimes I don't have time to scratch my bum. Sometimes I don't even have time to take promo shots of my books, and I end up not posting anything because I don't have any new photos. So I don't know if anyone saw my vlog that I released last night where I wasn't allowed to film in Collector's Edge. It is no joke. I couldn't even find photos of the inside of Collector's Edge because I was going to try to maybe get some photos. But
the only thing I could use
for that. There's reasons for that.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like someone gave me shit in the comments and said, how arrogant to think you have the right to film everywhere. It's like, dude, I didn't talk shit on them at all. I said I wasn't allowed to film in the thumbnail, but in the video I talked nothing but good things about them. Because it's actually a really good shot.
They've been broken into a couple of times.
Yeah, and that's why. And that's fine.
And that's why
whatsoever. But obviously my videos are about showing you the store and, things like that. But I just found when I was like, maybe I can see if I can find some photos just to use in the video. I couldn't find any photos. But same, if you try to find
How arrogant of you just because you got a camera and you got funny red hair on one side, never changed his hairdo in like 100 years. I mean, how dare you? Mate, you're disgusting. Right. I don't know why I'm friends with you.
All right. So back to my shop that I'm opening, right?
What are you going to call it?
Well, the working title would probably be something very generic like SimpleVerse Comics and Collectibles. Shut up.
No.
But the thing is, I would like. So one thing you guys might not know about Mark, but he doesn't really want. Hang on, let's see this again. Yeah, you got to post photos. One thing you guys might not know about Mark, we've mentioned it before. Mark didn't want his comic shop to be a toy shop. So that's a little bit too simple there, Vlad. Mark has got some toys, but he doesn't have like barely anything. And he had a couple of pops in the beginning, but it got less and less over the years to almost next to nothing. You got a couple of statues and things, but I would want that stuff in my shop. Yeah, so where would I go if I wanted to source that sort of stuff? Who's the contact? Who's the point of contact?
You would have to go to
Icon or whatever, isn't it?
Definitely Icon. You would definitely have to go to what's the other one? Banter Toys as well. But Icon would be the number one.
Who does Icon? What can Icon get me? Like what? Like pops and
pops. Pops and probably the McFarlane action figures, other action figures. The believe it or not, I believe it. This is no bullshit, right? I'm a customer and I'm a retailer who has an account with Diamond, and I can't even get Diamond Select toys.
Yeah, so stupid.
It's so stupid. And that's because Icon has that license for distributing in Australia, Collector's Edge and Mooney Ponds, that's right. Icon is pop culture, correct. Pop culture is their retail side of it, and Icon is their distribution side.
So apparently it's very hard. It's not that easy. Just, hey, I want to buy stuff from you guys. So
I went probation.
In one of my videos, I went to a shop called Video Days in Preston, and she sort of specializes in a bit of everything. She's got like VHS tapes, very horror themed stuff. So she was like really stoked that she got the license to NECA, but she was like, I think she was telling me that's all she could get. She's like, I'm so glad I got NECA because she really likes that stuff. But I think she's like, she got knocked back by a lot of other distributors because they didn't. They're like, we need proof of your business and things like that. But how do you have proof of your business when you're just starting up?
Because they want to see your finances. They want to know. They want to see. They want to know that you can pay an invoice. They want to. That's what they want to see.
So wouldn't they just say you have to pay up front? I mean, like, I just don't understand why.
I don't know. I mean, look. When this is the stuff that happens when you run a business, right? We want to sell something specific, but you can't, and then you try to get an account, and this is the stuff that like curveballs. So that's why I decided to keep it, to use your words, simple, and just sell comics, because I love comics. I love action figures too. If anyone knows me, know that I collect a whole heap of Batman action figures and movie action figures, and I love all that stuff too. But I don't want to sell it. Not at the moment. But the thing is, like when I did, when Marvel left Diamond, or didn't leave Diamond, but Diamond was no longer a sole distributor of Marvel, and Marvel obviously went out to Penguin Random House. I had a choice of going to Penguin Random House or stay with Diamond, and Penguin Random House don't only do Marvel. They have licenses for IDW and Dark Horse as well. I can't, if they have anything else, I'm not sure. Maybe Boom. They might have Boom. But anyway, so I had a choice. And there are comic book stores who have Penguin Random House accounts. But I gave him a go. I had a rep reach out to me, and he gave me an application. And they wanted to put it plainly, they wanted to know the inside and outside of my business, and I just said to myself, that's my business, and I don't really need an account with Penguin Random House, so I refused. So I decided not to do that. I decided to stay with Diamond. Diamond have always treated me well, and they've always packed the books well, and they've always done returns well, and if I have a problem with it, they've always rectified it. Yeah, they might not be the best packers of missing stuff, but that's with everything. You might it's gotten better over the years. It used to be worse. When they were
Luna are almost perfect. Luna very rarely.
Luna is almost perfect. They're not perfect, but they're almost perfect. So I decided anyway to stay with Diamond, and that's the things that you have to deal with sometimes, and you got to make decisions based off what you want to sell and what you can get and stuff like that. I could have easily. There are small businesses out there who have accounts with the distributor of the McFarlane action figures, right? Pop Culture used to be the sole distributor, or Icon, should I say? Icon used to be the sole, but they lost that license as sole distributor. And now it's gone out to it's everywhere. All these little small businesses have that license to sell McFarlane, and that's the way it should be. That's exactly, so it gives people choice of where to buy it from, and it gives competitiveness. So, I just think it's ridiculous that, Icon is the sole distributor of, Funko Pops. I mean, it's Australia wide. So, yeah, it's competition is healthy. Absolutely. Absolute competition healthy. Absolutely. So, I just decided I wanted, let's do comics. Let's just do comics. Let's just keep it traditional. And I like it. I like that.
Mark used to get very passionate about it. He's like, I want to have a comic shop, not a toy shop.
Yeah. And that's true. I want to have a comic shop, not a toy shop. toys are good for a comic. They always go hand in hand, absolutely, because it costs it makes up the difference in what you lose in comic sales, and vice versa. So people who don't collect comics or read comics, they come in for the toys, and then the people who don't collect toys but read the comic come in for the comics. So you get best of both worlds there. But I decided not to do that, and that's all. I just didn't want to do that. It just I personally just didn't want to, because like comics, toys are much bigger to store. You got to put them somewhere. You got to I just see the point. I'm more passionate about the comics, and I didn't want to. I found myself overwhelmed anyway to begin with, so I didn't want to put my both feet in two puddles, should I say? I just wanted to dive into one, and that's it. And so I decided to go with the comics, and I don't regret it. I like doing what I do.
All right, well, back to my shop, because 3 years have gone by and I still haven't opened my shop.
Correct. It took me. All right, so I'll give you a timeline. So
hang on, whoa. I got a question. All right. So I've got the name. I've got the finances. I've found the location. I've bought the location. How do you go about then you're a bit of a handyman, I guess, but maybe you did it all yourself. But how do you then do the shop?
So I tried to source. So I started to source shelving, right? So what are we going to do with shelving? So how am I going to display my comics? That's one thing. So I looked around. I looked here. I looked there. My idea. I looked at what other stores do. Yeah, that's true. It is true to diverse, but it's also sometimes that could bite you in the ass. So, I mean, yeah, that's true. 50-50, absolutely. I totally agree with that. But like I've always said, what have I always said?
You have to run your business the way you see fit. Oh, sorry. Yeah. You have to run your business the way you see fit. Which is true. It's the same way as when people give YouTube advice. It's like, you run the channel the way you want to run your channel. That's what I always say.
Unless it's YouTube telling you how to run your channel.
Yeah, but look, what works for one person doesn't work for someone else.
That's true, 100%. Yeah, so that's why.
But no, as far as your shop, when you bought your shop though in Fitzroy, did you just move your furniture stuff in, or did you actually do the decor? Is that the word?
Yeah. What do you mean do the decor?
Did you have to Did you strip the walls down and repaint, and or the shop was already as it was?
It was. I didn't want to touch the walls. Okay. I didn't want to. It was brand new. Cool. It was
just the door that you put on.
It was a blank slate. So I could have painted the walls. My initial idea was to do a city skyline, along the walls, like a city, like in shadow, in silhouette. Yep. That was my idea. No, in a sticker on the walls, but then I just said, you know what, Mark, don't. Just because then if I leave, I'm gonna have to rip that shit off.
But do you though? If you bought oh no, you didn't buy the place that you were renting.
No.
Yeah, okay.
So I tried to. So I saw what other people were doing with yeah, and so I looked at shelving, what I'm going to do, and what other people did, and so I thought that the cube shelving was a good idea for trades. So I went with the cube shelving. I knew that I would have to have glass cabinets. So I went with the glass cabinets.
I'm trying to picture where your cubes were in the first shop.
Up against the wall. As soon as you're on the same side as the door.
Okay.
So when you walk in, all my cubes and all my trades are on one side of that.
That's how long, man. I don't even remember anymore. I just remember that beautiful new release wall.
Yeah. So with the new release wall, that shelving needed to be modified. So there was a business going out of business here, and they were a shoe store called Payless Shoes. And I remember one of my best mate, which is also my cousin, he said, "Oh, have a look at these." these might be good for you. So I went in and had a look at a closing store, and I asked them, have you got any with this? And I had a look, and I said, these would suit me fine. These are great. They just needed a little bit of modifying to hold comics, and so we did. So I ended up sourcing the shelving from a shoe store. So there were shoe racks, and we modified them to put comic books onto them, and we ended up sourcing them from a place in the CBD, and we had a truck, and we loaded it up, and he gave it to us. He gave me everything basically for a really cheap price, and there it was born. And then I that came with me to another store, and then now I've got rid of it all. It was a shame. I gave it to Eli. He said he could use it, so I was happy to give it to him.
And I've got your glass cabinet. I have a piece of Big City Comics in my home, which is awesome.
And that glass cabinet that you've got in the background, that's here in my house. That's it there.
Oh, that's your one that you have the statues on in the shop, yeah?
Correct.
Yeah. It's looking good. That cabinet's looking pretty good. I'm going to end up putting some LED lights in here to make it look a little bit flashier, especially if we're going to be doing these more.
So what else? So you want to know? You want a timeline of when I started?
All right. Well, okay. So I've now got the shop. I've moved my stuff in. How do I go about getting the word out there? How did you?
Social media.
Okay. But did you
a website? Because so
did you pay for any social media advertising?
No.
Or like how?
No.
Because to do it without paying, it's not
Google.
easy.
You got to make sure you got a presence on Google, because people will Google you. They will not Facebook you. They will Google you. So
that's how I found it. I found you by Googling comic shops.
Correct.
And after 8 weeks of doing that, Big City Comics finally came up at the bottom.
Yeah. So basically, website first, and then you get a Google profile, and you link obviously your Google profile to a website, and then you do that with all your socials as well.
Yeah, but did you you would have started Big City Comics page on Facebook from scratch? Do you know how hard it is to how do people know? How are people just going to find you? It'd have to be a word of mouth thing to begin with, right?
Yeah, word of mouth and
community.
Yeah, I think my Facebook page. I started posting. I just had under construction on my cover photo, and then I started posting photos of my build. Like if you go really early on, you'll see.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to find them. I've been scrolling for fucking half an hour, and I'm still not there. I'm still only up to 2018. So with your I forgot. Oh no. I forgot what I was going to say. No, you keep going.
Yeah. So timeline. Oh, it was probably, I'd say maybe a year. A year.
Hang on. So you had the shop for a year before you opened?
No.
How long before you bought the space? How long before you paid for the shop?
Took us probably about a month.
Okay. And that whole month you were trying to advertise and build So
the landlord gave us a month's rent free, and I used that month as rent free to build to prepare. Yeah, that's exactly what I did. And then it was just getting, doing the free comic book day thing that I did with my opening. That really drew attention as well. I paid professional cosplayers, and they did a really good job. They were out in the street, they were pushing people into the store, free comic book day, that sort of thing. Did you share it on any Facebook groups or anything like that, your shop? No,
I just think it's so difficult to just start a page and get the word out there without paying for advertising.
So now, look, at the end of the day, the comic book community is like. So
did you still go to shops? While you were setting this up, did you go to shops?
Yeah, of course.
And was the word? Were you telling people, and people were like, "Oh, that guy talks a lot."
Really.
He was opening up shops.
No, not really. Just people I know, and people once the comic book community knew.
Bye, Mark.
Bye. once the comic book community I was around, then I started getting well known. So people would come, and then the community started coming in, and that's when everything starts spreading. And people in the area, and friends started and stuff like that. So it was from scratch. It was hard, of course. It was very hard.
I just think
free comic book day. My opening day was so busy. Like it was
but that's what I'm saying. Like for you to
right? So free comic book day was super busy, right? The first day of opening, and then shit got real on Sunday when virtually no one came in. So it was like what have I done? But it's just a shock that you have to quickly get over, and then you start looking at other avenues, pushing yourself out there. Absolutely. Family helped as well. They put it out there, and everything makes a difference. It's a completely beast now. Like it's a completely different. If I was to open up a business now, the comic book, I didn't even know they existed back then. Like the comic book groups and that. Had no idea they were around.
Well, I think even back then, even Facebook was probably a little bit better at. I guess it was a better. I just think these days, I think Facebook is a useless promotional tool unless you want to pay money. I do that. I literally do that as a job, right? And for the stuff that we do, that we don't advertise for, fucking gets zero reach. So even so I used to have my SimpleSimon Facebook page, right, for my YouTube channel. It got hacked, so it doesn't exist anymore. But when I had it in the beginning, I found my reach was, not huge. I only had 200 followers, and then my reach was maybe, my posts were getting out to 100 to 150, 180 people, and I was like, oh, that's good. And then the longer it went, all of a sudden my posts were getting out to only 20 or 30 people. I was like, well, I got 200 people that follow me. Why is my post not even getting out to the people who follow me? It's because social media changed over the years, where it no longer shows you the stuff that you follow. It shows you the stuff that it thinks you want to see. And then the longer you spend looking at that stuff, it just keeps. So I hate that social media has done that. And same with YouTube. I hate that now YouTube, right? If I type in a topic, right? Let's say I type in the NOOB rebirth, right? It will bring up a bunch of our videos, but then it'll have it will bring up maybe 10. You'll scroll through 10 of our videos, and then we'll have all this other stuff, which is just the regular stuff you usually watch anyway. And then you might find a few more that are related to you. So, and there will be a big chunk of stuff that you watch anyway. Why does it, if I want to watch that stuff, I'll just go to my homepage. I just hate the way the algorithm works now, man. And it really has ruined Facebook. That's why I like Instagram so much more, because I think Instagram is so much better at as far as having a completely random person stumble across your stuff. I think you're more likely to get that on Instagram than you are on Facebook. Facebook is
a different beast. It's a different social media. They're all different. I don't want to get into the tribulations and troubles of social media. That's a discussion for another day. Believe me. So, because social media, they're all different, and that's why they want you to advertise on all different. They have different clientele. They have different demographics. So it's all about the algorithm. Absolutely. So, but back then, so I didn't really do. But then I started. I obviously had a Facebook page and started pushing on Facebook. And our former employer. One thing that I learned from that employer was a multi-million-dollar company, and they never relented on their advertising or their promotions. They never relented. Never. It was just absolutely constant catalogs, constantly. Nothing. They never relaxed. And they were a multi-million-dollar. They didn't have to do all that. They didn't have to advertise. They didn't do anything.
Yeah, but they do, because you can't stop the machine.
That's what I'm saying. So,
but it's hard to compare a small business to like a.
Yeah, but what that taught me was that even if a multi-million-dollar company doesn't have to do anything, but so that taught me that if they're not stopping, if they're not relenting, so why should I? So that's why I always tell people, you got to make sure, if you run a business, especially a retail one, you got to be able to, even a hospitality industry, you cannot, because there's so much competition out there competing for for people's attention. You cannot relent. You cannot ease off the pedal because people will forget and they'll go on to the next. They'll get on to the next thing. Absolutely. So that's one thing that store that we worked for taught me. You cannot relent.
Just quickly, if anyone watching live, just because I did turn monetization on halfway through the stream, if you get an ad during the stream, let me know, because then I'll just shut it straight off, because YouTube do that now. Like, you used to just get the ad at the start of a live stream, but then they started playing it while you're watching in the middle of a live stream. It's like, interrupt. I just missed something because of that ad. So yeah, if that happens, please let me know, because I'll just shut it off. So when you first started as well, I'm going to guess you took a hit money-wise.
Oh.
How long did it take to profit, and how close did it come to you just being, I can't do this?
Very, very early on.
Yeah, like talking months.
Mate, very early on.
Because I think that's a thing. Like I've always said to people, like even back in the day, like I used to love music, right? So I used to love the idea of opening up, my own little record store that specialized in punk rock and metal and all that sort of stuff, right? But in my head, I was not stupid. I was like, it's not something like as nice as the idea sounds and dreamy as it sounds, you have to be realistic, and it's not an easy thing to do to start open up a small business in anything, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless you've got something unique.
Well, I had to borrow more money.
You had to borrow more money.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Brendan and Bianca, and Declan. You had to borrow more money. I was bleeding money. So I had to make that decision to move. That's why I had to move. And at the end of my rental cycle of my contract, I made the decision to move on to a cheaper rent. Move locations where there's, I sort of looked at it, because there's things you do. It's the things you have to do to survive, right? One of them was eBay, right? So selling online. Let's say instead of eBay, let's say selling online. So what's one thing you have to do to survive? And then another thing is lessen your overheads. And that's what I mean. Like when you got a business plan, things have to change. That has to be fluid, right? So it's just got to be fluid, right? And so I had to borrow more money to keep going, and then I sold my house to keep going, which is fine, and I was happy to do that, absolutely. So and then I had to find somewhere else, and that what I learned from the first 2 years I was in that shop in Fitzroy, and not make the same mistakes. So I looked for a place with parking, and I looked for a place that I think suited what I initially wanted anyway. And so I went. That's when I had the Fitzroy shop, and so then obviously the unconventional. The business plan goes out the door when you're told to shut down, and you can't open your store anymore. So no business plan there. But my point is, you can't just stay still. If things aren't going well, you gotta look at what you're doing and what's working and what's not. What am I ordering too much of this? What do I put on the shelf? And you gotta watch your ordering. Don't order too much. Look at the dollar. Everything is coming at you. You got shipping costs. You got the conversion of the American dollar. You got everything. You got everything coming at you. You got and then at the same time, you got to open your shop. You got to try to sell your wares. So you got everything coming at you, and you got to be in tune with everything that's happening. You can't just I'll deal with it tomorrow, or no, you can't, because then tomorrow becomes the next day, and then the next day it comes the next day, and then the next day comes the next day. So you got to deal with it straight away. It's got to be quick, because a business can fail within 3 months if you don't stem the bleeding. If it starts bleeding money, you got to find a way where it's bleeding. So you got to stem it pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's crazy how quick some places go up and down. It's insane.
Absolutely. mismanagement is you just gotta understand. Part of my being is survived for so long. I mean, I'm coming on 8 years. Is that it's well managed. I find that I manage my stock well. I manage. I'm on my own. Like I don't have staff. I just have helpers. And now I've gone into a different stage of my business. Whereas the next stage, you've seen my second stage. So this is sort of like my third stage, where I'm doing more comic book fairs, and by losing a rental or a front of bricks and mortar shop front, I've had to do something else, something different to make up for that. And I'm happy doing that.
And is the business plan be more relentless than ever?
Yes and no. It's still the same business plan. It's still go ahead. It's still it's just I have to chase the business. I have to do the comic book fairs. I have to promote more. I have to chase more. That's all.
So you might remember. So back, I did an episode of. It was back when it was the new 50 Noob. So if you guys want to, I did a vlog episode. I called it Behind the Scenes. So if you actually look up on YouTube the new 50 Noob BTS, you'll find an episode that I did where it was just like a vlog of me going to the shop, and we were in lockdown at the time, right? And we had a real kind of deep and meaningful conversation. And you were telling me, I'm so glad I captured that, because I think people saw that and was like, oh, this is really deep. Like you were talking about how I think you were saying that you had to pay tax.
Yeah.
Because for the first time you were making money.
Yeah.
And that was in your second shop, or like that was years into Big City Comics.
Yeah.
Or a couple of years into Big City Comics.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's it might not like on. Oh, mate. See, so probably, okay. And if that's true, that's shocker.
See you later, Mark. I'm getting cost price.
No, they wouldn't be selling.
No, of course
floppies.
Not.
They wouldn't be selling floppies.
Yeah,
they'd be selling graphic novels. And
that's the one that got me to go to. See, there you go. See, Mark, just steering business your way through my YouTube channel. That video is the one that got me to go see Mark, because that was like a really good video and real eye opener. I think just how hard it is to run a business, because from the outside, Mark's all woo, but he was hurting. He was hurting behind the curtain.
I'm always hurting. But the thing is, it's like you might not see that you're making money. Like you might not see your bank account go up a lot, but on in that case.
Mark, have you considered a website and using a program like Manage Comics? How important is the website for attracting business?
No,
you went a different route. So Mark originally was going to set up a website where you order directly through his website, but then you change paths and what is it? eBay? What's it called?
Yeah, I'm doing eBay for a year. I'll see how that goes. Because
it's like his eBay has like a proper. It looks like a website almost.
Yeah, right? Correct. And categories and stuff like that. So I've got a shop, like a shop on, and I find at the moment I find it much more easier to manage, because it's not a full-time online store, and they take care of all the commerce stuff. They take care of all the disputes when they have to step in. So at the moment I'm finding that's working for me. And again, some people say the fees are too high. Some people say, oh, blah this and blah that. But I find that it works for me, and I find that I'm not there to rip people off on eBay just because of the fees are high. I'm still selling and making money, same as what if I sold them in a shop. And I find that their fees and their costs they're worth what they give us in return. That's what I find. The maintaining, they're always constantly updating. So I find that works for me. Until it doesn't work, then that's a different story. At the moment, like like I said, I'll try it for 12 months, and that'll give me a good indication whether I want to go and have my own website, and buy off my website, because even if you do have a website and you've got a shop on your website, it's got to be an e-commerce site and it's got to be maintained. So you got to have an internet, you got to have a provider, you got to pay for that, and you got to pay for the hosting. So you're still paying fees, whether you're on eBay or whether you got your own host. So you got to weigh that stuff up too. That's business. That's how business works, And then if you want to go into obviously, and then towards the end, I can always go into the passion of it. And I always say you got to love the industry. You got to be passionate about the industry for you to move the business forward. So
new customers as well.
Yeah. So and that's it, and that's what online does. I don't do international, but I do Australia wide, and that's opened me up to a whole different type of.
And you've got like regulars like Con, who lives in Sydney. He shops through big city for some reason. So.
And so I do. I've gotten a lot of customers through eBay as well, and they still buy through eBay. They don't contact me outside of eBay. They still buy through eBay. So because that's what they're happy with, and at the end of the day, eBay is safe, it's secure, it's trustworthy.
So at my work, I look after the e-commerce site, and our I probably want to say 70%, 65 to 70% of our sales come through our eBay channel rather than our direct, which sucks.
Yeah, and car parts on eBay is huge too.
Yeah.
When I'm looking for something for my car, I go to eBay. I don't go, and then I look at, these days you look at Marketplace to see what people are charging and what, but Marketplace is not trustworthy. You get tire kickers. You get
people who fucking come to stab you.
Yeah, or you get people who don't turn up. It's back to the old west, like it was with the trading post. If people living in Australia, they would know what the trading post is. No shows and time wasters, and whereas eBay is not like that. I find it works for me, and it's good. I like it. Anyway, I've always liked it.
All right. So we're getting close to the hour now, just so people have an idea of how the show works when we do the Noob Universe, the Noob Rebirth. That's about how long we talk for. And then I have to edit it down into 15 minutes. You know how hard that is?
So you're not selling me very well. You're not selling me very well.
No, I'm trying to sell my channel membership here, Mark. Shut up.
Okay.
So all the channel members who are watching, they get the full longer version of those videos. But I just think I always make my videos with the intention that someone's watching it for the first time, and someone who is watching us for the first time doesn't have time for our bullshit. So,
well, I can't really like punch you in the. I can't punch you when you're not here, or I can't kiss you or hug you, or you can't slap my bum, or like I want to give you put you in a headlock, but we can't do that.
All right. So I think, okay, well, let's just finish that topic off, and then we've got our next thing to talk about.
So to finish it off,
some final words of advice. My shop's now open. I've had my grand opening, which is very successful. Oh, thanks, Mark. Thanks for coming. You got any advice?
If you're passionate about it, you got to do it. It's a relationship that you're having with something that you love. And so when you love something, you want it to succeed, and so you push and you nurture it, and you if you're passionate, like try to bring people into your passion as well. Whoever comes into your store, whoever asks about your store, if you're out and someone says, "What do you do for a living?" "Oh, I run a bookstore, I run a comic book store," and so okay, well then. People want to know about that because it's not common, and so you have to sell it everywhere you go. When people ask me, you have to sell it. I sell my passion, because I love it. I love what I do. I love the industry. I love and everyone knows that. So you just got to love what you do, and you can't let it. I've said this many times. If you're doing something for the wrong reason, it's never gonna succeed. You got to do it. You got to do it for the right reasons, and the right reason is you got to love what you do. You just got to love it, and you got to like the people around you. You got to like everything that comes with it, whether it be the bad part or the parts that we don't want to talk about, as well as the good parts. You got to love it all. You can't just love one part and not the other. That's my advice. Never give up either. Never give up. There's always someone out there to give you money to continue your passion. There's always someone out there. Always. I was yet to find them. I'm yet to find them. Simon, buddy, buddy,
I'm here,
buddy. All right. I might put you up one day.
All right, we're gonna end that topic, and we're gonna go with our next one. It's a little bit more fun, but again, it's right up Mark's alley. So hopefully, you guys enjoy this. We'll have different sort of segments moving forward. This is not always going to be part of it, but for this first episode, this is what we're running with. It's going to be called. Where is it? Oh, Mark, you're not even going to stick around for it? All right, you ready? This is the next segment. Retro movie talk, yeah. It's the best I can come up with.
Oh man, that was what a great. What can I say? What a great intro.
That's right. So
great.
One of the segments I guess we'll do to obviously fill up some time in the future will be talking about all kinds of different topics. So it won't always be retro movie talk every week, but for the first episode, I thought we'd go back and revisit a classic, which is a movie I rewatched recently and absolutely just, it'd been a while since I'd watched RoboCop. But the thing is, I remember it so vivid. Like all the scenes were coming. I was like, man, it's been so long, but all these are still so well ingrained in my brain, right? However, I told a story recently in one of my videos where I mentioned that I actually saw RoboCop at the cinemas when I was a kid. My dad took me to go see it at the theater. And it came out in 1987. So I was 5 years old when I saw RoboCop at the cinemas. Now, for memory, RoboCop was an R-rated film, right, Mark?
Yep.
Right? So I mentioned that. So I was like, my dad took me to see an R-rated film when I was 5. That's crazy. So someone in the comments, and I forget who it was, but they mentioned in the comments, they're like, I very highly doubt you were allowed to go see an R-rated movie when you were 5. You probably saw some M-rated version they released for the cinemas. And I was like, as if they would release an M-rated version of RoboCop in the cinemas. So I Googled it. Turns out in Australia, the theatrical release was an edited M-rated version. And I was like, what?
Correct.
Why would you do that? So here's the thing, right? One thing that I never remembered about RoboCop that I saw when I rewatched it recently, when Murphy gets killed and murdered, it is pretty brutal, man. Like, they shoot his hand off, and then they stand there and shoot him for like, bloody, I don't know, 2 minutes just shooting. But the fact that his like whole hand explodes off, and I don't remember that at all. The rest of the movie, like all of it was so vivid still, but that murder scene was brutal.
Brutal.
I don't remember it like that.
What, really?
But,
well, I remember.
Let's talk about your experience in the cinemas. Mark was about 40 when he saw RoboCop at the cinemas. 1987. So tell me.
I never really saw it at the cinemas.
Okay. Yep. You saw it on VHS.
I remember seeing it on video. And then later on, I bought it. I bought it on DVD, and it was from America. Not DVD, sorry, on VHS, and it was in America. From America, was it DVD or VHS? I think it was DVD. Yeah, and it was from America, but it was the Criterion version or Criterion edition, and it was amazing.
Anything more than 20 years old is now retro DMFN.
I'll buy that for $1. That's right. Absolutely, that was a saying throughout the whole film.
So the guy exploding and the melting guy, that guy was like, because again, I saw that at the cinemas as a 5-year-old. That guy was just so ingrained in he was scarred under my retina. I'll never forget the melting guy getting hit by a car.
I remember watching it on DVD on VHS, and I remember we hired it and watched it on VHS, and then it seems like it was cut, right? Like you don't see his hand explode, you don't see a lot of the stuff. Like in the edited version, you never saw any of the
versions then on VHS as well.
The proper violence, they cut a lot of it. Like when his hand gets cut off, and when and they do it when they do a lot of other, like when Kenny gets shot by the Ed 209, and they show a little bit, and then Kenny's dead, right? And then when I bought it on the Criterion edition, it was unrated, right? And it showed them shooting the hand off, like actually a shotgun to the hand, hand exploding. And when Kenny got shot by the Ed 209, he absolutely, the Ed 209 went to town, like absolutely went to town. I reckon a good 8 minutes.
It was just like kept going. I was like, is this going to stop? Yeah,
right. Just absolutely, it was just really violent, but that's what Paul Verhoeven was about anyway. He was a violent director, and to insinuate the story, and to show what kind of violence that environment ensued.
So something I was wondering, I believe RoboCop is on Disney. I think it's on the Disney Plus. I feel like it's on Disney Plus.
I don't know.
I actually watched it on Prime. And after I watched it on Prime, I wondered, because what I didn't know was, I didn't know when movies went across to Disney, that Disney were editing the shit out of it. That's such crap.
That melting guy, right? He reminded me of the Toxic Avenger.
Yeah. Yeah, he absolutely was the Toxic Avenger.
But you know what? That movie had a really good undertone. Like the undertone of that movie was, the corporate, they know more than the man on the ground, and then for him to break his programming and do what he thought was right, that was very great. That was a good undertone of that film, the story wise. And they don't make a lot of movies like that these days. But the true hero, obviously was Murphy. And breaking his sort of like programming.
It was so well paced as well. It's like almost the most perfect pacing of a film. It's just straight to the point. It was absolutely.
It was just really beautifully shot. Like the scenes where you see through his view screen. Yeah. Like when it keeps cutting out because they keep they keep cutting him in and out, like resuscitating him, and then they shut him down, then they restart him. Yeah. That view was awesome. Like I just thought that just gave you a different perspective.
Was that a high budget film, or was that like a B grade film that was a success?
Oh, it looked like it. I think they put a lot of money into. It was on the same. To me, it was like probably the same. They put a lot of money into the suit because the suit looked amazing.
Yeah, and even the way he acted in that suit, like he looked like a robot. Like that's about as good as you can be. The way he turns a corner and things like that was so good.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just the music was awesome. It was scored because back then, every movie was scored. So it was scored beautifully. I can't remember who did the score.
That RoboCop tune is the same. It's like it gets played 10 times throughout the movie, all different
all the time, same loop
and timing, and it's just gives you a completely different emotion. But
the beautiful setup, like that movie, movie, I've seen it many times. So that setup when he first gets to Detroit and he gets his partner, and he goes, I'm driving, I like to break in new partners, and he goes up the ramp and there's the sparks, right? And it sparks. And then when he's RoboCop, he does the same thing, goes up the ramp and there's sparks. Yeah. That trait, and even the trait with the flipping of the gun, how he flips the gun, those setups in the beginning of the film where they establish Murphy as a person, and then you see those traits come out in the robot. That was so well set up. I just thought I couldn't believe that movie was just amazing. It was so original too. It was very, very good. It blew my mind.
I was shocked how awesome it still was when I rewatched, because I don't know how long it's been.
It holds up.
It'd been a long time. All right, so then I went and rewatched the second one, which I also loved back in the day, and it just didn't. I didn't dislike it. It just didn't hold up to my memory.
Yeah, well, that one was written by Frank Miller.
Oh, okay. I didn't
know that.
No, I actually had the RoboCop comics when I was a kid. Was that written by Frank Miller?
Good one, Graham. Good one, mate. It was better.
We're not talking about that today.
No,
If they
but
release a new RoboCop, we'll get to the new RoboCop as well. We'll get to that.
like
But,
RoboCop, like the original RoboCop, it was just one of those. It was like a new thing, like Predator was a new creature. You know, it was just it's things you did in the movies. That's the type of movies that were coming out in the 80s. It was just original stuff. And RoboCop was out of this world again. Like Predator. I was like, what the hell is happening? And the city, they blew up this whole city. Like I don't even know if that was a movie set. Like as in a studio set. So
I heard about this. Apparently, they're working.
Amazon developing a new RoboCop series. Oh man, they just can't. They can't help themselves. They can't come up with anything original.
Well, you know what I like.
They can't help themselves.
If they're going to bring back stuff that I liked, I would like to give it a chance. It's kind of like
that's fair enough. It's not like I'm a gatekeeper or anything, but you just got to say to yourself, like, can you come up with something original?
So, just going back to the second film, what is your? Because I loved it but again, I was real young when that movie came, so every action film was kind of cool to me. You again were probably in your 40s, so like, did you like the RoboCop 2 back then? And also, I guess, what are your thoughts on it now?
Yeah, I don't watch RoboCop 2 a lot.
I love the idea that the robot was still addicted to drugs. Kane, was it? I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, just rewatching it, it was very cheesy.
Very cheesy.
Like, I didn't pick up on that when I was a kid because I think everything was cheesy back then. But it was just so full of cheese.
It was a good villain. Better than the Ed 209.
I think it was better than Ed.
Yeah, it gave it the human element.
Had more character for sure.
Yeah, gave it the human element. The Ed 209 was cool, but they went that step further. But RoboCop will always be a classic, always. And what year did they do the original? I mean, not the original.
87 was the original.
That's right.
And then the second one, I don't know, 91. I'm going to guess.
Let's have a look.
And then the third one, I don't even know. I'm sure I've seen it at least once. Surely I would have watched it once, but
I watched it once, and that's all I needed.
Yeah, exactly.
2014. Right? The 2014 it was.
What? That's the remake.
The remake, yeah.
Okay, so no, we're talking about we're not talking about the remake yet.
Not yet.
Okay, no, now we can. We dismissed number 3. I literally cannot remember.
That was like the third Beverly Hills Cop movie. Doesn't exist.
So yeah, now let's go to the remake. So I was gonna rewatch it this week. I just didn't have the time to. But what I did was before the stream started, I actually went back and rewatched the trailer because I don't remember much of it. I just remember really actually enjoying the remake. I forgot about the cast. They had Michael Keaton in there, and was Gary Oldman in it?
I think so. Yeah.
It had a really good cast, and I actually thought it was a really good action flick for memory.
Yeah, well, I thought it was a good action flick as well. I thought it was, if it wasn't named, I think if it wasn't called RoboCop, I think people would have been more accepting of it.
I disagree, because if it wasn't called RoboCop, then everyone would have been like, "Oh, this is copying RoboCop."
But they did copy RoboCop.
Yeah, well, it was a remake. Like,
that's what they copied it.
Yeah, but I think they'd have new spins on it.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like if like the popularity of the original, if that was the first movie that came out instead of the 1987 one, it'd still be a hit. That's what I'm saying. So it's just a really good action flick, just like the original, with less violence. That's all. And they updated the suit. They updated the character a little bit more, of Murphy, and to modernize for those times. And that's basically what it was. Just It was no Total Recall remake. Put it that way.
Oh, I think that is who he is. I think he played the army guy from Suicide. I think you might be right there, actually. I like how they paid homage though to the original. Like, you know how the suit starts off silver and then they change it to black. Yeah, the janky robots was interesting watching.
The janky robot movement was that stop motion. They used stop motion.
Yeah. It's like Jason and the Argonauts. Remember that movie?
That was the technology back then. Unless you wanted to pay big bucks for CGI.
Are you saying, Grey Man? Are you saying that the remake RoboCop copied the new Dredd? Because the new Dredd is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, comic book movie. Again, it's just one of those action films that so good, so quick, to the point, well paced.
It wasn't perfect.
Dredd is one of my favorites.
No, Dredd wasn't perfect. No.
Well, okay. I can't say I've read a lot of Dredd comic books.
It's not about the comic book.
I just thought the film was simple. The idea was simple, and it was just to the point and well paced. And
we're getting off subject. That's a conversation for another day.
We are. Next week will be is retro yet? I don't think Dredd's retro yet.
Modern movie. Compare to Stallone one. That's a retro.
There you go. Yeah, we can compare both. That's a good one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still want to watch I will rewatch the remake of RoboCop because I am currently a RoboCop guy.
Yeah. Hashtag RoboCop foot guy.
He's got weird feet, RoboCop.
He's got weird feet?
He's got like a toe.
Yeah.
It's not like a closed off foot. He's got a toe to give him some pivot action. And I think that's it. Are we done?
I don't know. You're the host. You're hosting.
All right. Well, I think we're good. Like I said, I want to keep these less than 90 minutes just because I feel like less than 90 minutes, you can sort of maybe has some sort of rewatchability. The remake didn't get the satire right though. Decent film, but didn't have the soul the original did.
Correct.
RoboCop from Police Academy is still the best. Was there a RoboCop in Police Academy?
In one of the movies, I think, yeah.
All right. Well, again, we'll try to do this. Look, I might actually be able to do it next week because tonight isn't actually Sarah's work night. She actually happened to go out, but I think she's working next week night as well. Maybe, but we'll try to do this once every fortnight at least. And obviously, if that doesn't happen, it'll be released once a month. I would like to hope. But what do you think, Mark?
Can't do next Thursday.
Okay, that's fine. Then we'll try for. You'll see us again this month, I would think, or in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Maybe.
So, all right. Well, I see Mark's already. Mark's already afraid of committing to this podcast. You watch, mate. The numbers are going to blow up tomorrow, man. When people rewatch it, and it's like,
really?
Whoa. Yeah. This is I never get a consistent 15, 16 views. Normally, it gets up to 11, 12 views on my live streams, and it drops down to 3 as an average. Today's been a good, consistent number. So, shout out to everyone who's been hanging out in the chat. We appreciate it. And yeah, I think that's about it, Mark. Moving forward as well, obviously, if we ever finish early, we'll probably do some chat about comics and what we've been reading and things like that. But I think 11 minutes is probably not quite enough for Mark to sum up one comic book. So we'll probably end it there, and we'll just finish up with some chats. I'm sure I read the original movie was heavily influenced by Dredd character. The original movie.
Yeah, you're probably right. It's probably.
Thank you, Watcher. Thank you. Yes, we will do comic book chats for sure in the future.
Absolutely, yeah, of course.
Again, this is just a longer format version of what we do.
Well, let's do a quick thing of what we're reading. We don't have to.
Okay, all right. So I actually read the other night.
Go. What are you reading?
All right. So the other night I read the first issue of The Crow, Dead Time. Absolute rubbish. It was just it was poorly. It didn't make any sense the way it was written, because I think it was kind of like It was kind of like trying to tell a story while majority of the book was flashbacks. So I couldn't work out what the hell was going on. It was just very poorly structured. It was done in black and white, which I can appreciate because you're trying to pay homage maybe to the original one, but come on, just give us some color. So yeah, I didn't like the first issue, but I'll give it another chance, and I'm sure I've pre-ordered the whole thing anyway. But
I think you have.
Yeah. So The Crow was rubbish. I read Alien Romulus.
Yeah. And what's that?
Yeah.
Was that good?
It was okay. Yeah, it was okay. So it basically explains this. It's a prequel to the movie, so it kind of explains how Big Chap gets onto the ship and what happened to the. So how they get to the ship and the ship's all So don't worry about it, Mark. You won't enjoy it. But maybe if you read it, you might enjoy Romulus more.
No.
Okay, maybe not. All right. And then the other thing I read was I just caught up to date. I was 2 issues behind on Something's Killing the Children. I didn't read issue 0, but I read the last 2, 39 and 40.
Change your scrolling headline. Change the scrolling headline.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Come on, Mr. Host, man.
Sorry. I'm retro movie talk. Yeah. That wasn't supposed to happen.
Oh my God! Live TV, people. Live TV.
All right. And then, Something's Killing the Children. Fantastic as always. The final story arc isn't really a story arc. So the last 4 or 5 issues have all been one-shots. And I can understand if people didn't like it, but there was one issue which was really good where she goes and sees a psychologist. And it's like a one-on-one with the psychologist and Erica Slaughter. I thought that was kind of cool. Anyway, anything you've read, Mark, in less than 9 minutes?
Well, I read a whole heap of Walking Dead Deluxe, the coloured version of Walking Dead. I'm really liking those. I've never read.
You've been reading that for years now.
Yeah, well, it's really comes out twice a month. It's really slowed down now for some reason. Maybe because they've got Transformers and stuff like that coming out. It's really good. I've got to say, reading it gives me a completely different. I've never read it. I watched the show. It's just kicks ass over the show, 100%.
I've actually got the.
What else? I read. What else? What was I reading before that?
Is that your own little? Is that your room? Your own little? Your little Mark cave.
It is my Mark cave.
Nice.
It is, and so I've been reading. Fables, the continuation of Fables, which is started off pretty crappy, but it's actually coming to a good payoff. I'm really liking that. And then I recently started reading the continuation of Black Hammer. So I read the first 12 issues of Black Hammer, in a trade, and now I'm reading the spin-offs that reading order. So I'm sticking to reading, which this is really well written, and the characters are really fleshed out. Jeff Lemire, shout out to Jeff Lemire, and to Whack Comics over there. I heard that was your favorite artist.
Apparently so.
So reading that, and I'm still reading Undiscovered Country, which is I'm starting to agree with you as Scott Snyder junk.
Yeah, right. So everything that, so again, as I mentioned in the previous video, Scott Snyder, it's not like he has bad ideas. He just likes to turn those good ideas into shit ones.
Look, it's not always him writing it either. He collaborates with other people. And look, I can't stop reading it. I've got to say that. I can't stop reading it. It's what are they going to do this time? What are they going to do next issue? What are they going to do? I just can't stop. I haven't stopped. So
if they leave you on a cliffhanger and you care, then they're doing something right. That's at least. I like wanting to know, but sometimes a writer or a story will get to the end and give you a cliffhanger, and I'm like, I don't care. I'm done.
Apparently he's doing Absolute Batman. So Scott Snyder is writing.
So this is what I got to say about Absolute Batman. I'm not reading it. I wish I picked up the first issue just so I could see what it was all about and then flip it for $100. But I said today, so someone made a post about Absolute Batman on IG today, and I said, I understand. I'm not reading it, but I understand that people love Absolute Batman right now, but I'm almost willing to bet money that Absolute Batman eventually turns into Scott Snyder garbage.
It just shows. It just shows how much anyone could have written that book. It doesn't have to be Scott Snyder.
Just like anyone can write a great first issue, but can you continue?
It's not about. It's the thing is, it's the originality of it. Like people were starving for originality in storytelling, within the comic books. I mean, it's look at Ultimate Spider-Man, the Hickman Spider-Man, right? So the originality of it. People were sick of the roundabout of that writers would use in storytelling. You know that they were telling stories. They tell stories that were told in the 70s. They just rehashed them again. You know, and that's why Sarsky is still on Batman. You know, because he wrote original story. He wrote good stories, which was original. The Failsafe arc was great.
I remembered the thing that came up on Instagram today. So someone was having a go about people were loving it, and one person was having a go because apparently there's a part where Alfred is in Absolute Batman, right? Apparently he says the words Batman as fuck. And the guy, like, I have a problem with that.
So I mean, that's why I think it just shows the popularity of what people were starving for. Anyone could have written that book, but it's the original part of what's so good about it. It's because it's just original, and that's what people want. They want original. They don't want to be the same old thing. You know, the Joker coming in, taking Batman's money. He's poor again. Oh, the Joker gets out of prison again. It's just they don't want that anymore. Yeah, and this proves that. That's all. All three books, Absolutes, prove that as well. It's just such a great original way to go. You know, and the point is too, they've never done this to Batman in any of universes or Superman or Wonder Woman in any of the universes like Elseworlds. They've never done this kind of story even in the Elseworlds. So it just proves the point that people want original stuff, good reads.
All right. Well, I just want to shout out Australian reviews. How good is that? I've never seen that, like written like that. Australian. That's very clever. Original, just like Absolute Batman. All right. So we're going to cut it off now. If anyone is interested in watching that episode of the New 50 Noob all those years ago, I'm actually going to drop a link to the video in the chat. It's the video where I did the vlog. I go to Big City. We're in lockdown, and we had that awesome chat. And Mark was talking. We had a bit of a D&M, and I caught it on tape. It was a magical moment in Simple Simon YouTube history. And if you guys want to watch it, it's there in the chat for you. Anyway, that's all from us. I don't have an outro for the video yet, but by the next episode, we will have an outro. I'm sure it'll be like a montage of bye marks. But for now, thank you, everyone, for joining us. We appreciate you. And it's time to say bye, Mark.
Bye, Mark.
And keep it simple.
Keep it simple.